the key here is if any of us try to control every possible part of a complex technology environment that could be attacked, it's an infinite race. There's no way to know every possible attack point. You could have an injection attack over here. You could have a social engineering attack over there. My focus is, what is it that you're most concerned about being impacted? So looking at the scope of defense and saying, okay, where's potential damage? Where's potential loss? What are those things that I am most concerned about? And let's build defenses starting there and moving up from there. So that's what I talk about in this talk. And I think we need to do that as a security organization, as those that are responsible for defending. We need to actually get back to basics and make sure that we understand the basics first. Know for sure that the configurations are doing what's intended. You have no idea whether or not things are working the way they're supposed to and the way they're intended to work. And so this is really critical. Just because you don't have stuff coming in, or just because you have a ton of stuff coming in that's being reported, doesn't mean you're protected. And so again, it's do the blocking and tackling, do the foundational work, do the security hygiene, get really clear, and then have automated analytics to make sure that what you're seeing makes sense and is doing what you expect it to do. This is especially important when you have a zero trust environment where the devices that users use are untrusted, as they should be, by the way. You should never trust a user's device. So how do you build out an infrastructure that takes that into account? And how do you recognize that the more complex you make each component of your environment, the more challenging it becomes to defend it? Complexity is the enemy.
I see something about ransomware. Somebody's struck by ransomware. I think it's just a failure of security architecture, and got involved in the internet very, very early, back in the mid 80s, actually, and did a lot of work in distributed systems. But one of the things that came up right away was, how do we defend? What kind of security helps us when my focus is all about the end user? And if the easiest way to secure a product is to turn it off and stick it in a closet, if it's turned off and stuck in a closet, actually, by the way, if it's plugged in, it might still be able to be attacked. So let me be clear about that. But it doesn't help a user very much. So what we're really doing is we're finding a balance between user productivity and protection of corporate assets. That's the work. The work is figuring out where the line is. And so stop believing that control is security, because it's not. So these days, I focus primarily on device choice, helping enterprises give their users choice so that they can be as productive as possible. Ransomware is epidemic. It's everywhere. And the fact that it exists proves that our approach to security is weak. It's just really that simple. I don't know if you knew that, but like, you can go out and you can buy ransomware as a service, and you buy that, and then you can go and attack people. Woohoo! How do we protect? And the problem is that we're thinking about the problem all wrong. Ransomware itself is rudimentary. And by the way, if we solve the ransomware defense problem, we also address a number of other defenses, but I'll get to that later. So ransomware is rudimentary. Generally, there's some kind of campaign to get malware installed on a system, an end user system. By the way, this is where everybody focuses. The focus is on the campaign and the infection. Try to keep malware. In fact, we don't try to keep malware off systems. What we try to do is scan for malware after it's installed and then try to pull it off. That's kind of where we focus our technology effort. If you're buying third-party antivirus software, you're doing the wrong thing. You're wasting money. You're throwing it away. The native antivirus on both Windows and Mac is fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. It's good enough. There's no reason to buy anything else. They do enough. However, they obviously don't do enough to protect us from ransomware. So what do we have to do? Well, first off, we got to change the focus. Number one, complexity is the enemy. This is really important, because as technology continues to innovate, complexity can increase, and usually does. As you see at the bottom of my last bullet here, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because it's possible to do something with a device, with a network, doesn't mean you should do it.